Hello and welcome. In the previous video, we had learned to pass data to a method, correct? In this video, we will learn to return data from a method. Alright? Now, this is the main method. When a Java program runs, it will execute the main method first. Okay, so I had explained about this too, correct? So do not worry too much about this for now. Okay, in the method I have a line to print out hello world. Okay, now let me create one more method. Let me copy this and paste it, and let me name the method as num, and I want to pass an integer, so I'll say int and x. Okay, so x is the name of the variable, and here let me delete this and say x. Okay, now when I hit the run button, I get hello world as the output. That is because when the Java program runs, it runs the main method. Okay, so main method is this, so it executes whatever is in the body of the main method. Even though this is a method, it is not called explicitly, correct? So we need to do that now. So let me call out num. All right, let me call out num, and while calling, I have to pass something for x, because I'm saying I want to create x where I'll be sending a value, but we have not sent anything here. So let us do that. So I'll say 3, and when I hit run button, I get hello world and 3. Okay, now placing this above this will get you 3 first and hello world next. So when the main function or method executes, it will call the number method by passing 3 to the x. It is printed out, and as soon as it reaches the end of the body, it goes to the calling function and then continues the program. Okay, yes, you know that once the end of the body is reached, it will return back to calling program, correct? Now we can use a return keyword and manually return from a method. All right, so let me say return. Okay, return, and let me hit run. This does the same thing. Even with this or without this, the result is same. Okay, so even if you have written here or do not have written here, as soon as the end of the body is reached, it will go back or return back to the calling statement. Okay, so this here doesn't have any function. Now let me place this above this. Now when I hit run button, you can see I have an error. Let us see what that error is. When I hit run button, it executes main method first, and in main method the first line is calling the function. So num3, I'm passing 3 to number method here. Okay, here, but then in this method the first line itself is written, so it returns back to the calling function without executing this. Okay, so as soon as the return keyword is encountered, the control goes back to the calling statement, and anything after return is not executed, and so it says unreachable statement. So this is out of reach because we have written here. All right, now let us modify this. I'll use if. Okay, if, and I'll say x. If x is greater than 5, and let me have return here. Okay, I'll have return here. All right. Now let me run this, and I get 3 and hello world. Okay, let me change it to 7 and run it, and I get hello world only. Now let us try to analyze what is happening here. As soon as I run the program, main method gets executed. First is num and 7. So 7 is being passed to x, and in the next line we have an if condition. So it checks whether x is greater than 5. If x is greater than 5, then it returns back to the calling function without executing rest of the program. Okay, so now I'm passing 7. 7 is greater than 5. So this comes out as true, and so return is executed and the control goes back to the calling function. Okay, so this is not printed out. Whereas if I have, let us say 1, okay, and let me run it, I get 1 and hello world. So when this is executed, when this line executes, 1 gets passed to x, and we have an if condition here, x greater than 5. So this comes out as false, and so this is printed out. Okay, this is executed. So the return doesn't execute because this is false. So we have 1 and hello world. Okay, yes. Now let me delete this. Let me delete this, and let me delete the if condition too. Okay, now we can return a value back to the calling statement too. Okay, we can return a value too. So let me say return, okay, return 34. All right, return 34. Now let me remove this. Let me remove this, and let me remove this too. I do not want to pass anything now. Okay, I just want to call the function without passing anything. I'll hit run. I'll hit run, and I get an error. Okay, I get an error. Now what is this 34? 34 is an integer, correct? 34 is an integer. And if you want to return a value, then you must mention to what data type the value belongs to. So this belongs to integer type, correct? So that has to be mentioned here. Okay, so void means we are not returning any value. Okay, but here we want to return an integer value, so we have to say int instead of void. Okay, so here we have mentioned void because we are not returning anything. By default we are not returning anything, and so we have mentioned void. But here in this method we are returning an integer value, and so we say int. Okay, so now I hope this is clear to you. If your method does not return any value, then you have to use void. If it returns a value, then the data type of that value must be mentioned instead of void. Okay, yes. So now let me hit run, and I get hello world. I get hello world here. Okay, so let me delete this, or let it be there. Let it be there. I'm passing, or I'm returning this value, correct? I'm returning this value, but where does this value go? Where does this value go? We have to store this value, correct? We have to store this value somewhere, correct? So let us say int. Okay, let us say int, and let me create a variable by name a, and I'll say is equal to num and this. Okay, and here instead of printing hello world, I'll say a. Okay, so let me run it and explain what is happening here. So I'll run it, and I get 34. Okay. Now, let me explain you what is happening. When I run the program, main method gets executed first. I'm saying int a equal to number and this. Forget about this for now. Forget about this for now. I'm calling the function. Okay, I'm calling the function. I'm not passing anything, I'm just calling the function. Function is here. So here I have one line which says return 34. That means 34 is returned to this. Okay, 34 value 34 is returned back to this calling function. Okay, calling statement. Now that 34 is stored in A. Okay, we are saying store whatever gets returned when you call the function now. 34 gets returned and so it gets stored in A, and in the next line we are printing it out. Okay, once again this line, what does it mean? It means call the function or method num, and whatever gets returned from the method or function, store it in A, and I'm expecting the return value to be an integer. Okay, I'm expecting a return value to be integer. So I'm saying int a equal to num. Okay, int a equal to num. So when 34 gets returned to num, it is stored in A and I'm printing it out here. Okay. Now, if you want to return decimal value, then you just have to say double here instead of int. And here it has to be double because we are storing decimal value, correct? So when I hit run, I get 34.1. Okay, 34.1. All right. Yes. So I hope you have understood. Now let me tell you one more thing. Instead of writing this, okay. So instead of writing this, I'll comment it out. Instead of writing like this, you can just write this inside this. Okay. System.out.println num and this. And let me change it to 38.1. When I hit run, I get 38.1 as a result. Okay. Now the question comes in your mind. Are you printing out the method? No, it is not printing out the method. It is printing out the value that is returned after calling the method. Okay. So when I say num this, so it calls this and whatever value is returned is printed out. Okay, it is printed out. Now it is not stored in a variable, it is directly printed out. Okay. So this is one more thing which you can do. Alright? Yes. So that is how you pass data to a method and return data from a method. Okay? I hope it is clear. In the next section, we will combine both passing and returning data and then write a program. Okay? Alright. Now, in this section, we will combine both and create a useful program. Alright. Now here I have my main method. Let me create one more method. So I'll just copy this and paste it here. And here let me name the method as add. We'll create a method or a function to add two numbers. Alright. And it is necessary to name the method according to the function that it is going to perform, or in other words, this has to be meaningful. The name that you give for the method has to be meaningful. All right. Yes. So here I'm going to delete this. And here I want to return. Let me say addition of x and y. All right. I want to add x, y and return the value. Alright. So now what do we need? We need x and y. So here inside I'll say int x comma int y. So we need to pass two values to this method, x and y. Alright. And it has to add and send back the value to wherever the function is called. Okay. Now here let me say or here inside let me modify this itself. I'll delete this and I'll say add. Okay, add, and I will pass 13 and 3. Alright, add 13 and 3. Now when I hit run, I will get an error saying I have mentioned the type as void. We use void when we do not want to return anything. Okay, but here I have mentioned we need to return, but here I have mentioned void. So these two are contradictory. So we have to change this to int, meaning the return value will be of integer data type. Okay, so x plus y will get us integer value, and that is what we will be sending back. Okay, now let me run this and I get 16. Okay, so now let us try to analyze what is happening. When the program runs, it searches for main method, which is here, not this one, main method. Okay, and inside main method I am printing out the return value of this. So before I print out the return value of this has to be executed first, correct? So 13 will be passed to x, 3 will be passed to y, and here 13 plus 3 will be done, which is 16, and 16 will be returned to this print statement. Okay, 16 will be returned to this print statement, and that is what will be printed out. Okay, now a question may come to your mind. Why do we have to go through all these steps just to print out the addition of two numbers? It is not so. We have created a method to perform simple operation. As you are a beginner, I am showing you how it works using simple calculations. Okay, in reality the syntaxes inside a method will be complicated. It will be performing many functions. All right, and also by now you must know that we can use a method. You can call a method multiple times. So if I want to, let us say, if I want to I'll copy this. If I want to print it out by passing 16 and 1, I can do that. So when I hit run, I'll get 16 and 17. 16 is the result of this, 17 is the result of this. Okay, or I can do this too. Let me copy and paste once again, 34 and 33. So when I hit run, I get 67. Okay, so you can call the function as many times as you want by passing different values to it. Okay, and we'll also create a formula after a few minutes where you will see how this method will be helpful. Okay, now let me delete this. We can also add two numbers like this. Okay, so here I can say plus, okay, and I can say add 1 and 2. All right, I'll pass simple numbers. Okay, we can also do this. So let me run and explain you how it works. Okay, what is this error? 1 and 2, sorry, here it is comma, not plus. Yeah, run and I get 9. So what is happening is, this is printing out the return value of this and the return value of this after adding them both. Okay, So the return value of this is 3 plus 3, 6. The return value of this is 1 plus 2, 3. So this will be 6, this will be 3. So 6 plus 3 is 9, and that is what is being printed out here. Okay. So you can pass values like this and you can add them. Okay, you can add them. Or you can also do something like this. So you can say add, and you can have a bracket here and run it. Okay, so here this is not plus, this is comma. Okay, you can run it and get 9. All right, so you can pass this, you can pass this and get return values, and pass those return values using this to get a value 9. Okay, so let me tell you how it works. First, this will be passed and the result value will be 6. I'm going to change it here itself, 6. This will be passed and the resulting value will be 3. Okay, so now this and this will be passed for x and y, and the resultant of this will be 9, and 9 will be printed out. Okay, so you can do that too. So let me hit Ctrl Z, and this is how you can do it. Okay, so these are the different ways how you can perform operations using a function while calling it. All right, now let me create a function to calculate area of a circle. Okay, so I'll say area circle. Okay, area circle, and here let it be double, and we need to pass. So if you do not know, the formula for calculating area of a circle is pi r square. Okay, so here I'll pass r and let it be double. Okay, and return should be pi value. So 3.14, let me take it 3.14. We have a function here to accurately take pi value, but let us not go for that. Let me directly take 3.14 and into, okay, pi into r into r. All right, so pi r square, and I'm sending double here, and I expect the result to be also double, and so the return value will also be double, and so you have to change it here too. Okay, so double. Okay, now here let me pass, let me delete this first, let me not confuse you. So here I'll say area of a circle, and inside the bracket let me pass 4. Okay, let me pass 4, and when I hit run, I get 50.24 as a result. Okay, so for various radius values, you can get the value of area. Okay, so you can see how simple it is to get the area of circle for different radius values. All right, if you did not have this function, then every time you need to write this here. Okay, you need to calculate this. Every time you need to type this here. Okay, so let me just copy this, and this is how your program would look like. All right, so let me copy this, and instead of r you need to type 4 and 4, and here you need to type 7 and 7, and here you need to type 9 and 9. All right, so by doing this you'll get the same result, but you can see how tedious this is. All right, and this is also not the right way of programming, and sometimes you may make a mistake too. For example, for the first two you may write the formula properly, and for the third time you may mistype this as plus. All right, and when you run the program you won't get an error. All right, so you will get 3 values, but this is wrong, and there is no possible way to find which is error other than going back and looking at it. Okay, So all these are eliminated if you have a method or a function. Okay, you can create this method, or you can create a method once and you can use it as many times as you want. All right, you can use it as many times as you want. All right, you just have to call area of a circle and pass the radius value, as simple as that. Okay, yes, so this is how we use methods. All right, now I want you to do an exercise. Okay, I want you to take a formula to calculate anything. All right, maybe area of a triangle or a square or anything, and I want you to write a function to calculate area of something, or it can also be a function to convert temperature from degree to Fahrenheit. You can do that too, you can try that too. All right, so have that here and change the necessary parameters here and execute the program. Okay, so try it out. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care and thank you for watching.